This video takes you through how to add new buttons to the POS. So just firstly some terminology. Inside Heart, a restaurant is called a facility. So for instance, there's a facility called the back garden, the potting shed, the greenhouse hook, and so on. Inside facilities, there are things called outlets. Outlets are the service periods within inside that facility. So, for instance, an outlet is the potting shed brunch, the potting shed lunch, for instance. Some outlets, some facilities will only have one outlet, for instance, the spa. Inside a POS, the buttons along the top are called sales groups, and then the individual buttons here are called items. So now that terminology is cleared up, in terms of adding a new button, back inside the PMS, which controls everything that happens inside the POS, there's a section called Materials and an area called Items. This is where we add, remove items on the POS. So as best practice, we shouldn't just keep adding items to the POS. You should always see if the item already exists somewhere else, if it's already being used somewhere else. So in order to do that, once you've opened up items, simply press F6 or hit the looking glass, and then just start typing the item that you want to add. So for instance, if I was looking to add poached eggs with ham hock, I can see it already exists. So I click on that and I press F6 or the looking glass again, and it pulls back for me that item that already exists inside Heart. This top section here is quite important. So the POS, this is what gets displayed on the button on the POS. Just a quick watch that Heart, when adding new items in particular, and particular beverage, has a habit of adding the bin number to the beginning of the POS button. It's quite simple, you can just delete it, we don't use those. The short code is what will get printed out, and the name is the actual name of the item that will appear on all the reports that we use. And down here you have what the item is, so it's almost always a product, and the options are food, beverage or other. Down on the right hand side, the menu POS, this shows you where the item already exists. So for instance, in the potting shed lunch facility, outlet, under the brunch sales group, this button will already exist. Revenue center is where revenue goes to once the button's pressed and the check is cashed off. VAT, please don't play with these are controlled centrally, and then the pricing of the item as well. So as this item already exists, if I wanted to add this item to a further sales group, it's very straightforward. I simply right click and I find the outlet that I want to add it to in the sales group. So I'm going to use an outlet that we don't use anymore, just an example. So for instance, if I wanted to add it to the garden room dinner and I wanted to add it to the BCF sales group, I simply select there. I then select which revenue centre I wanted to go to. Well, logically this is garden room dinner and it's a food item, so I'm going to send it to garden room dinner food. VAT for this item would be 5%, just copy what's already there, and pricing is as you wish. Once you've done that, simply press save. If you now head into the POS, you'll notice that on the BCF tab, the item isn't there. That's because you need to restart the POS in order to see any changes that have taken place. So if you are making changes, you will simply need to get everyone to restart their POSs before they take effect. Having restarted the POS, if I now head to the BCF tab, I can see that my item is there. And that's as simple as adding an item that already exists. To add an item that doesn't exist is quite straightforward. So first off, I'm going to search for my item. And you can see that it doesn't exist. So I'm going to simply clear that and I'm going to start again. I type the name of my item and automatically it fills in what will appear on the POS and what's on the short item code as well. You can change those again if you want them to make them more easily readable for the team. It defaults to being a product, and in this case I'm going to say the item is food, and I press save. I'm already in the POS group here, so I'm simply going to pick the POS group that I want to add it to. And I'm going to pick the same one as I had last time, just for simplicity. It's a food item, and save. Obviously, I will need to restart the POS to see that item has taken effect. So restarting the POS, head to the sales group that I added it to, and you can see that my item is there and it's priced at £10. And it's as simple as